There are games that age like milk, and then there are games that age like that one leather jacket you refuse to throw away because it just feels right. Assassin's Creed 2 is absolutely the leather jacket. It's not perfect, it's not flawless, it has rough edges, awkward systems, and moments where you can feel the era it came from. But despite all that, or maybe because of it, AC2 remains one of the most beloved games of its generation. And the reason isn't just nostalgia. It's because Assassin's Creed 2 understood something that a lot of modern games forgot. People don't just remember mechanics, they remember experiences. When Assassin's Creed 2 released in 2009, Ubisoft was in a strange position. The original Assassin's Creed had introduced a powerful ideal: historical assassins, parkour cities, secret wars shaping human history, but the execution left people divided. Players complained about repetition, missions felt samey. The story was interesting but distant and cold. So AC2 wasn't just the next game, it was Ubisoft saying, okay, we heard you. And you can feel the intention baked into almost every system, every design choice, and every narrative beat. One of the smartest decisions Assassin's Creed 2 made was giving players a protagonist who felt genuinely alive. Ezio isn't born a legend. He isn't calm, wise, or disciplined at the start. He's impulsive, he makes dumb decisions, he jokes around, he gets angry, he screws up, he grows. And that growth is crucial. Instead of throwing you into the role of a fully formed assassin, the game lets you live inside Ezio's transformation. You spend years with him, you watch priorities shift, you feel experience settle in. The long-term growth gives Ezio emotional credibility. When he takes things seriously, later it feels earned. When he slows down instead of rushing in, you understand why. The quieter moments matter. Conversations, friendships, small victories because Ezio feels like a person, not a power fantasy wrapped in a hood. Downside, Ezio is so strong as a character that he sometimes carries scenes harder than the writing itself. Some side characters feel thin, existing mainly to support his arc, but Ezio is compelling enough to anchor the entire experience. One subtle thing AC2 does incredibly well is allow time to exist. Not just in story, but emotionally. You don't blaze through Ezio's life in a weekend and walk away feeling like you completed him. Years pass, consequences linger. Wins don't feel clean forever. Most games compress character development into dramatic spikes. AC2 stretches it out. It lets time do the work, and that pacing is a huge reason the journey feels authentic. The game never announces this theme, it trusts you to feel it. Renaissance Italy is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, and thankfully it pulls it off. Florence feels tight and busy, Venice feels open, vertical, and chaotic. The countryside gives you space to breathe. These places don't just look different, they feel different. The cities feel handcrafted in a way modern open world sometimes don't. You learn shortcuts, you recognize landmarks, you know which rooftops are safe and which jumps are risky. Traversal becomes familiarity. Parkour isn't just movement, it's expression. But with that comes NPC routines repeating. Guards sometimes behave like they're sharing one brain cell. Over time, the illusion cracks slightly, but for a 2009 game, the atmosphere does more than enough to hold everything together. AC2's parkour system is iconic and undeniably clunky. When it works, it's incredible. Flowing across rooftops, chaining jumps, scaling buildings without stopping, it sells the assassin fantasy perfectly. When it doesn't work, oh boy. Ezio will occasionally jump the wrong direction, grab the wrong ledge, or leap into danger instead of safety. It's frustrating. But that friction adds tension. You don't feel invincible, you feel skilled but human. Modern games have smoother traversal, but they often lack the sense of risk. AC2 cities are designed vertically as much as horizontally. Rooftops are highways, escape routes, observation points. Guards dominate the streets. Height gives you clarity. The game teaches you this without tutorials. You learn by doing. Every chase becomes a navigation puzzle. This vertical logic is part of why the world feels smart instead of just big. Combat in Assassin's Creed 2 is fine. It looks cool, counter kills are flashy, executions are satisfying. You feel dangerous even when outnumbered. but mechanically it's shallow. Once you understand counters, combat becomes routine. There's little incentive to experiment beyond what looks stylish. Why it still works is because combat isn't the point. AC2 wants you to avoid fights when possible. Combat exists as a consequence, not goal. Where it falls short is veteran players can sleepwalk through encounters. The system doesn't grow with you. Stealth is where AC2 shines conceptually. You can blend into crowds, hide on benches, use distractions, and disappear in plain sight. You're not invisible, you're unnoticed. That distinction matters. But AI inconsistently can break immersion. Detection sometimes feels random. Guards can be oblivious or hyper-aware with little warning. Even so, the ideal is so strong that it leaves a lasting impression. When you fail in AC2, it usually feels like you were a mistake. You chose the wrong route, you rushed, you trusted the jump. The game doesn't overly punish you, but it doesn't protect you either. That balance creates accountability without frustration. You feel involved, not managed. One of AC2's greatest strengths is restraint. Side content exists, but it rarely feels like busy work. Assassin's Tombs focus on puzzles and atmosphere. Upgrading your home base provides tangible progression. You're encouraged, not forced to engage. But some optional content repeats ideals, and completionists may feel fatigued, but the game never demands total completion. That alone makes it feel respectful. Clothing, armor, and visual progression. Ezio doesn't grow stronger, he looks different. Armor changes his silhouette, weapons feel heavier. Visual consistency reinforces identity. You're not swapping outfits every 5 minutes for stats. You're building towards something. Customization is limited, but thematically appropriate. Ezio commits, he doesn't experiment endlessly. The music understands restraint, it swells when needed, fades when appropriate, and never overwhelms the moment. Certain themes become emotional anchors. You associate them with places, moods, and memories. Ambient sound design quietly supports immersion. Footsteps echo, crowds murmur, wind moves through high places. The world sounds alive. AC2 doesn't front-load everything. Mechanics arrive gradually. Locations unlock over time. Stakes build naturally. It understands rhythm, speeding up when necessary, slowing down when reflection matters. Some sections linger too long, but overall pacing remains one of the game's strongest qualities. AC2 doesn't over-explain itself. It lets scenes breathe, it allows mystery, it trusts the player to connect dots. Historical figures feel integrated, not gimmicky. Fiction weaves into history without winking at the camera. But if you're not paying attention, you'll miss things. The story doesn't always repeat itself for clarity, but that trust is part of the appeal. At release, the modern-day storyline felt mysterious and ambitious. Today, it can feel disruptive. Being pulled out of the Renaissance Italy can break immersion, but these sections are brief, purposeful, and never overstay their welcome. They exist to remind you that the past matters because of the present. AC2 isn't hard, and that's intentional. The difficulty curve builds confidence. Early vulnerability gives way to competence. You realize you can handle a situation that once overwhelmed you. That growth mirrors Ezio's journey. Players seek challenge, may feel understimulated, but AC2 prioritizes flow over punishment. Whether later Assassin's Creed games improved upon AC2 or drifted away from it, they all trace back to this foundation. Character-driven storytelling, dense historical worlds, parkour as identity, and atmosphere as gameplay. AC2 didn't just fix its franchise, it defined it. Replaying Assassin's Creed 2 isn't about discovery anymore, it's about perspective. Moments hit differently, themes stand out, silence feels heavier. That's emotional replay value, and it's rare. Assassin's Creed 2 isn't remembered because it was technically perfect. It's remembered because it made players care. It cared about its protagonist, it cared about its setting. It cared about pacing, tone, and restraint. In an era where games are designed to be endless, AC2 feels refreshingly focused. And maybe that's why years later people still climb a viewpoint, listen to the music, and stop for a second. Because some games don't just entertain you, they stay with you.